Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the July 4th, 2015 meeting of the Glendale City Council.
14. July 14.
Didn't I say 14?
4th.
4th. I know. It has been. We did miss the week of July 4th. And welcome, everyone. May we have the roll call, please?
Council members Devine?
Here.
Friedman?
Here.
Garpetian?
Here.
Sinanian?
Here.
Mayor Najarian?
Here. Councilmember Sinania, would you please lead us in the flag salute?
Please join me in pledging allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the invocation. Just a few short weeks ago, we marked our nation's independence with fireworks and festivities from coast to coast. Today is another important holiday for those who celebrate the victory of the common person over tyranny, as it marks Bastille Day in France. On this day in 1789, Parisians stormed the prison fortress of Bastille to liberate its prisoners, most of whom were political prisoners placed there by the king. The day was the first step in the establishment of the French democracy, which, like our own, has evolved and transformed into what it is today. In honor of this, today's inspiration comes from a quote by French writer and filmmaker Marcel Pagnol, who remarked that, quote, "The reason people find it so hard to be happy is that they always see the past better than it was, the present worse than it is, and the future less resolved than it will be." Today, as we gather to deliberate the issues before us, let us reflect on those words and ask and act in a way that makes our residents and stakeholders genuinely glad to be a part of our great city. We pray for the strength to resist the urge to be overly nostalgic, the wisdom to see the good in what is around us, and the courage to do and say that which will move our city forward towards a more prosperous future. We pray for our friends of French descent who call Glendale home and wish them a happy Bastille Day. And we pray for our men and women in our armed forces who keep us safe. May they always be out of harm's reach and return home safely, as we pray for peace tonight and always. Amen.
Amen.
Mr. Clerk, may we have your report?
The agenda for the July 14, 2015 regular meeting of the Glendale City Council was posted on Friday, July 10, 2015 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. What is the next item?
3A is presentation and appointments agenda preview for the meetings of Tuesday, July 21st, 2015.
Thank you, Ms. Beers.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, for July 21st for the Glendale Housing Authority, we have no business agenda items. That afternoon, commencing at 3 p.m., we have a number of special meetings of the Glendale Successor Agency, Director of Economic Development, Purchase and Sale Agreement for the sale of property located at 820 North Central Avenue, and this is in accordance with the agency's approved long-range property management plan. We also have a joint meeting of the Glendale City Council and the Economic Development Corporation, Director of Economic Development. This is the Alex Theater Management Agreement and Lease Renewal. We have a joint meeting again of the Council as well as the Successor Agency. This is Directors of Public Works, Library, Arts, and Culture. This is regarding contract with AMEC, Foster Wheeler Environment and Infrastructure, Inc. And this is for geotechnical, soils engineering, and materials testing report review services for the Glendale Central Library renovation project. That evening for the Glendale City Council meeting to commence at 6 p.m., we have a number of consent items. Director of Public Works, Civil Engineering, Traffic Engineering, and Fiber Optic Communication Design and Construction Management and Inspection On-Call Services. Director of Public Works, Testing, Maintenance, and Monitoring of Fire Life Safety Systems at various City of Glendale buildings. Director of Public Works and Community Services and Parks. This is award of a professional services agreement for Pacific Community Center. Design of rehabilitation. Directors of Public Works and Community Services and Parks, award of citywide security guard services contract. Directors of Public Works and Community Services and Parks, Glendale Narrows Riverwalk Phase 2 and Bikeway Culvert Project. We have a number of action items. Director of Public Works, this is regarding the energy efficient lighting improvement project at various Glendale parking facilities. Director of Public Works, as needed support of Andover building automation systems for the City of Glendale. The Fire Chief, dispensing with competitive bidding and authorizing the purchase of 2 fire engines from Pierce Manufacturing. And City Manager, regarding the League of California Cities annual conference, and this is the designation of voting delegate and alternate. And that concludes my meeting, Mr. Mayor, review, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. The next item?
At 3B is a mayor's commendation for Edmund Tarvedian.
Thank you. I know there are several people accompanying Mr. Tarvedian, and I don't know if you have a set number of speakers, but let's start with Mr. Nathanson.
My name is Adam Nathanson, and I'm here this evening to say a few words about my friend Edmund Tarvedian, the owner of the Glendale Fight Club gym, who goes by the fighter nickname The Diamond. Edmund started coaching and training at his own studio in Glendale at the early age of 16. In addition to being a competitive fighter himself, he has a mastery in multiple disciplines from boxing, MMA, Muay Thai, Judo, Kung Fu, and Karate. Edmund is now dedicated and focused on training amateurs, professionals, and world champions, including the undefeated UFC champion, Ronda Rousey. Sports Illustrated recently featured Ronda on the cover as the most dominant athlete in the world, and Edmund has been in her corner since the beginning of her MMA career. Since Ronda and other champions train daily at the Glendale Fight Club, people from all over the world are making pilgrimages to Glendale to take photos of the gym and watch the fighters train. The Glendale Fight Club brand name is now associated with the best of the best. What is so powerful to me is to see all ages of children from Glendale and the surrounding communities training at Edmund's gym in the late afternoon, being taught by the same coaches as the champions that trained in the same gym a few hours earlier. Edmund is the gold standard of leadership and vision, as he leads by example through uncompromising preparation and work ethic, mental toughness, confidence, and respect. Edmund's philosophy that he shares with his fighters is to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and the knowledge that no one can beat you but yourself. Edmund strategically raises the bar for his students as champions always do more. On a side note, I got to know Edmund on a more personal basis recently, as I was fortunate to have traveled with him and Ronda and GFC pro boxer Melsic to Armenia, where he made us all feel welcomed and included in the special journey to commemorate the 100-year anniversary of the Armenian genocide. It was a memorable trip on so many levels, and I'm also pleased to announce that Darren Malakian is here with us from System of a Down, who also played in Armenia to celebrate the 100-year anniversary in front of, I think, 60,000 people in Yerevan Square. It was a memorable trip on so many levels, and I'm grateful to Edmund and Ronda for including me. I want to applaud and thank the mayor and members of City Council for the accommodation and recognition of who I consider a Glendale icon, Edmund Tarvedian. Thank you. We'll leave it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tarvedian. Your reputation precedes you, and your name has been tossed around City Hall for over a year as we saw the success of your fighter, Ronda Rousey, and then with your trip to Armenia with Mr. Nathanson and with System of a Down. And we're very happy to have you part of our community, teaching both the professionals and the young kids a discipline that they can be proud of and carry with them the rest of their lives. So I do have a proclamation, and it says, "It is presented to Edmund Tarvedian in recognition of your years of leadership and mastery in multiple martial arts disciplines. Your dedication to providing the highest level of training of world champions is commendable, and I thank you for serving the youth of Glendale by being the leader in martial arts training in our city. Your focus and expertise delivered from the Glendale Fight Club have brought recognition to the sport and notoriety to the city of Glendale. I congratulate you for your accomplishments on behalf of the city of Glendale, and I wish you continued success on all of your future endeavors." Now, I have an attractive commendation, but we also have, is that right, Mr. Bell? We also have a flag of the city of Glendale that we're hoping that during an appropriate opportunity, perhaps before national television, or while someone is wearing a championship belt around them, they could drape this over their shoulders, sponsorship permitting. But I'm happy to present this. Mr. Sinanian, I'm going to give you the flag, and I'm going to come down with the plaque.
I've never seen them give the flag, so that's a very high honor.
And let's invite the whole council.
Thank you.
And put their hats up. There you go. Here's.
We got over the Glendale Fight Club.
Congratulations.
Oh, yeah, yes. That's...
We got a different one.
Flatten up.
You want a black one?
Sure, just a little bit so you can all get it.
Look at me first and we'll get everybody else.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
What are they here for? For a lot. So-
hat, though, somewhere. Those are Scott's. One of those hats.
So when I was in Armenia, there were some demonstrations against the utility rates being increased. And one of the posters that they were carrying, of course, the president of Armenia's first name is Serge, and the mayor of Yerevan's name is Daron. So there's people walking around with pictures of Serge Tankian from System of a Down and Daron from System of a Down. It says, "We want the real Serge and the real Daron." So I wanted to mention that because we were fortunate to have accompanying Edmund, the very famous guitarist. Okay, we do have quite a few visitors from the Pan-Armenian Games, and they are appearing under a comment. Is it under public comment? So I'm going to take them out of order so they're not inconvenienced too greatly. So will and I don't have the card, but I know that they're here. Will the representatives for the Pan-Armenian Games please come forward?
Well, good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council members, City staff. My name is Arik Gevorkian, and I'm the Director of the Communications for Hominid Min Glendale chapter. Although you've seen me here in the chamber under different hats, under cultural activities, youth advocacy, but today I'm representing the Pan-Armenian Games, and our communication manager, Sevada Hamelian, will join us shortly. The City Council, the manager, and the community relations have all been gracious enough to support and become an integral part and partner with our chapter for the upcoming 6th Pan-Armenian Olympics in Armenia. And we are here tonight to first of all thank each and every one of you for your support and also update you on the overall progress of our undertakings. As you are all aware, the 6th Pan-Armenian Games in Yerevan, Armenia will commence on August 2nd through the 13th in various sport arenas. 90-plus athletes representing cities of Glendale and Montrose will compete in men's and women's basketball, men's soccer, and table tennis tournament. Estimated 5,000 athletes from 4 corners of the world are participating at these games, and the games are recognized worldwide and praised. This evening, we have a few proud and excited Glendalian athletes, coaches, and members joining us in the chamber, together with the head of the Glendale Montrose delegation, Armik Abrahamian, to my right, and our fearless executive director, Armin Gorgorian, sitting with the athletes. Athletes, would you please, the some of the athletes that are here that will represent Glendale and Montrose. These are a few of our athletes that will be traveling to Armenia at the end of this month. Thank you. And as you could have seen, we also have a Glendale PD officer amongst us. She was chasing me to give me a citation, I believe. Christine. Christine is also a member of the women's basketball team joining the Pan-Armenian Games. Thank you. Christine is a star athlete and a member of the Homenetmen Glendale chapter. During our several communications with the city, we are pleased to learn that a few members of the city council will be joining our delegation to Armenia, and our organizing committee is in contact with the officials and our sister organization in Yerevan to devise an itinerary with official city-level meetings in Yerevan and sister city Gyumri, opening ceremonies and official visits to Tsizernagabert, which is the Armenian Genocide Monument Complex, and the museum and the Holy See of Ejmiadzin, to name a few. Also, we'll be honored if the City Council members and all the staff members can join us this Thursday, July 15 at 8 p.m. at our center on San Fernando for a short scrimmage, press conference, and also get acquainted with our athletes and the coaches representing our two great cities less than two and a half weeks from today. For further details, you may also check our Facebook and social pages under Glendale Pan-Armenian Teams or Homenetmen Glendale Ara Chapter. On behalf of Homenetmen Glendale Ara Chapter and Pan-Armenian Glendale Montrose Delegation, I thank you for your time and will be more than happy, whether myself or Armik, the delegation's chair, to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Garbetyan.
Yes, I would like to welcome all of you. I'm very proud of Arat Homenetmen as a member and a former athlete of Arat. Last Sunday was a historic moment in Glendale. It was a historic day in Glendale. We did light up the torch at the Apostolic Church on Central, and then it was ran by one of the stars of the Armenian community as well as the Armenian American community, which was Ani, who's a basketball player, a star in Princeton. And it was transferred to the General Consulate, and we had a great ceremony over there. I think this was the first time that we did that. I don't know if I may be wrong, but it was a historic moment for me at least. And I'm one of the delegations, and Ms. Devine, Councilmember Devine, we're going to join you in Armenia. And I wanted to ask the city manager if it's possible, because there was a budget to pay for our trip to go to the to Armenia, and I wanted to ask if that budget can be allocated and donated to our Homenetmen, so more athletes can go and we can help with their accommodations in Armenia instead of.
Please, I'm sorry, sir.
Okay, I thought you. Okay, so. That's what I'm requesting, to that budget to be donated to the Arat Homenetmen.
In a manner of speaking, yes, but we would do it. There is a sponsorship from the Economic Development Corporation. We'll have all of these athletes outfitted with economic development and economic development promotional slogans, materials, and information to do some economic development work for us, as you will be doing when you are there in Armenia. So what we would do is put that money that would otherwise pay for council members to go forward, put it back into the council travel budget, and then be able to offset an equivalent amount through economic development, if that's the council's directive.
That's my suggestion or request.
I think that's a great idea. I think as much as we can help the group of athletes achieve their goals of getting to Armenia and competing in these games, the better it is. I would like to say I'll be there on Thursday at 8 p.m., but I just want to make sure that we're not involved in the scrimmage.
No, you are. You are.
As you said, there's going to be a scrimmage, and I just want to make sure that we're not involved, okay? And I know Christine, I've seen her play, and I know how brilliant she is on the basketball court, so I'm looking forward to seeing you play over there. So I'm honored and so happy to be joining the group, going to Armenia, and I would even suggest that Councilmember Garpetian and I donate the funds to the city for the gifts that we're bringing. So to add on to the our contribution to that goal. So. Thank you. I'm proud.
And I would like to acknowledge my childhood friends who are sitting in the back and kind of smiling. Albert, Chris, and the other Albert. You know, they are here. We were childhood friends, and they've been coaching as a volunteer for years. This organization is the largest in the world, has over 2,000 members, and this is the largest in the world, especially with their basketball program. And I want to acknowledge my friends. So.
Our basketball program, just FYI, is the largest basketball organization in the United States, and our Boy Scouts of America troop is one of the largest in the United States. And these 90 athletes, we're so delighted when we told them that 2 of our city council members will be joining them at the games, at the opening and everything. It's just phenomenal.
I want to tell you, it wasn't easy picking just 2 city council members. That we all wanted to go, and we had our own little scrimmage, and Vartan and Paula came out on top. So they're the toughest of the tough up here.
I also wanted to mention that we had mentioned to City Council to appoint a junior ambassador to the games. So if you agree, or during your closed session, we have decided that out of all of our shining athletes, a city employee, a Glendale PD member, Christine Tepenekian, to be our junior ambassador, which would be a fantastic, in any capacity, she'll be able to represent all the youth from Glendale and Montrose at the games, because she is an integral part of our team.
Well, I think council can affirm that without an official agenda item. So if there's no objections to Christine being the junior ambassador representing the city of Glendale at the Pan-Armenian Games on behalf of the athletes, if there are no objections, then we'll affirm that by unanimous consent.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Mr. Sinan.
Thank you. I would love to come also, but I just got back 2 weeks ago from Armenia, so that would be difficult to do. But you're in great hands. Council members Devine and Harpetian are going to be great representatives and ambassadors for the city of Glendale. And I think the idea that was proposed by Council member Harpetian is a wonderful one, so I back it 100%.
Okay. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Bring home some ribbons and medals and trophies. Watch out for those foreign judges, though. I know they're a little bit tough on the U.S. teams.
Please join us here as our junior ambassador for the 6th Pan-Armenian Games. On behalf of the entire delegation, and you two also, you're part of the delegation now, thank you for everything. City manager, community services, everyone. Thank you so much. We'll come back with lots of trophies, and we'll meet you again here. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Sure, let's all go down for a photo.
Wait.
And all the athletes, too. They're also the tall ones. We're missing a couple of most of the tall ones are not here.
You want us to go on the dais? Oh, no, inside with this, you're going to move?
Let me through. There we go. Please. Oh. Maybe the tall guys in the back.
We're on one knee.
That was my friend's horse. Random horse.
Ready?
Podium's in the way.
One more with the other camera.
All right.
There we go. 1, 2, 3. Good.
All right.
Can I show this to Dan?
One more.
I'll see you. Good luck. Say about that.
We have to arm wrestle for it.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, would you please read item 3C?
3C is Mayor's Commendation for Southern California Seventh-day Adventist.
Okay, and will Mr. Cavanis and Mr. Salazar please come forward? Good evening, gentlemen. I want to say welcome to Glendale for one of you, and farewell from Glendale to Mr. Cavanis. We are very fortunate in Glendale to have such a large presence of the Seventh-day Adventists. Of course, we know your work best through your hospital and your Adventist Academy, but your members are great contributors and make Glendale and the surrounding community a much better place to live. So when I learned from one of your supporters, Mr. Harry Bay, that there was going to be a changing of the guard,
That's right.
Of the leadership, I wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to recognize you and wish you well and welcome Mr. Salazar, the incoming president of the conference, to Glendale. So let me first invite Mr. Cavanis, Larry Leroy Cavanis, to say a few words, and I have a commendation with a few words that I could say, but I'm going to give you the opportunity to say a few words to the council and to our viewers and to your members of your conference.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and the council. My wife and I have been residents here for the past 18 years. As a part of Glendale, I've served on the board of Glendale Adventists as vice chair of the board for the last 18 years. And prior to that, in the early 50s, I was here in Glendale. Part of my family worked at the hospital when it was a hospital and sanitarium back in the early 50s. So Glendale has been part of my life for a good many years. We've enjoyed these past 18 years, serving the church and also serving the community. And I thank you very much for the honor that you have given us today.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Velino Salazar, you are stepping into some large shoes, and we welcome you to Glendale. Would you like to say a few words? And
Sure. I want to express gratitude to the City Council of the City of Glendale for the opportunity to really serve in this community. I came to this country 32 years ago, and Glendale was the place that I reside for a few years, and then I moved to another locations here in the area. But also now I have been working for the Southern California Conference for 32 years as well, and I know the community. I know also how this city has been very supportive. Actually, the city of Glendale and also the Glendale City Church of Seventh-day Adventists, which is just 1 block away from here, these two institutions were organized in the same year back in 1906. So then these two institutions, they have been serving this community, not just in the religious aspect, but also in the community services, along with the hospital and also the Glendale Adventist Academy. Thank you very much for this special distinction that you are having for each one of us. Thank you.
thank you. And to Mr. Cavanis, I'm presenting you this commendation in recognition of your leadership as president of the Southern California Conference of Seventh-day Adventists for the past 18 years. And we commend your many accomplishments and active role to help bring many accolades and recognition to the organization. And more importantly, we thank you for your dedication to providing spiritual, cultural, and educational growth for the community. And on behalf of the City of Glendale, we wish you continued success in all of your endeavors.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Salazar, in recognition of you being elected as the new president of the Southern California Conference of Seventh-day Adventists, we congratulate you on the installation of this prestigious honor. We commend your commitment to great leadership and dedication to working with the religious leaders of the community for years to come. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Welcome to Glendale, too. Ready? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
Good luck.
it very much.
Next item, please.
At 3D is the mayor's commendation for cruise night sponsors.
Thank you. Will the cruise night members come forward? Onik?
Good evening, Mayor Najarian, members of the council and city staff. My name is Onik Bolanikian. I am a community services manager for the Community Services and Parks Department. The 22nd annual cruise night will be held this Saturday on Brand, July 18th, on the corner of Brand and Milford down to Brand and Broadway. Entertainment will be provided by Mr. Rock and Roll Brian Byrne, featuring the Jumping Jack Flash, Smooth Sounds of Santana, and the Chantes. We're excited that this is the third year that the event is fully funded by corporate and community sponsorships. And I'd like to thank our two major sponsors, Downtown Glendale Association for being a naming sponsor, and Economic Development Corporation for being presented by sponsor. So I'd like to invite DJ Board, if we have any board members here, and Mr. Phil Lansfame from Economic Development Corporation. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we're delighted to be a presenting sponsor of Cruise Night. This is one of the most fun events in Glendale, and behind the scenes, it really serves an economic development purpose. This event began, sponsored by the former redevelopment agency, as a means to attract people to our downtown and highlight the wonderful things that we have. So for 22 years, we've been able to do that, and I think every year it gets better and better. So on behalf of the Economic Development Corporation, I invite the entire community to come out and enjoy the fun.
Thank you. And is there someone here from the DGA? Okay, well, I'm going to ask Mr. Garbetyan and Mr. Sinanyan to present these. Thank you for your sponsorship, Mr. Lands of Fame, although we're the ones that, we're your boss anyway in that. So thank you, thank you. It's a great event. It's a great event. Cruise Night is a wonderful event where there are hundreds of vintage, classic, modern automobiles with great music. Most of the restaurants are open late. The streets are completely blocked off. Our police department keeps it very safe. There's displays by our fire department, a climbing wall, booths are set up, great food, great music, and hopefully it won't be too hot this year. We get some warm weather, but between 5:30 and 10:30, plenty of time. And is that fireworks I see also?
Yes, we'll be having fireworks for the second time.
Okay.
Last year we had our first year with fireworks. Fireworks show will be held in Brandon, Milford, north of the stage at 10:30.
And all of that is free?
All of that is free.
It's a great event for the family.
As of 5:30 today, the weather is supposed to be 84 degrees on National Weather Service. So I checked.
How many degrees?
84.
84 degrees.
That's perfect.
Perfect.
Hopefully we'll see everyone
Good
there.
weather, classic cars, good
No
food,
rain?
good music.
No rain. Okay.
You
No
can't
rain.
beat that.
Very good. Thank you, Oni.
Okay, thank you.
Next item, please, Mr. Clerk.
Next item at 3E is proclamation designating July 2015 as Parks and Recreation Month.
Okay. Mr. Duran?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. I want to go ahead and introduce Patty Betancourt and turn it over to Patty. I think we have a couple of our campers that want to thank the City Council for recognizing this month as Parks and Rec Month.
Hi, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and City staff. My name is Patty Betancourt with Community Services and Parks Department. Parks make life better. Parks and Rec make lives and communities better by providing us outdoor space to enjoy nature. A place for positive alternatives for youth which help lower crime and offer activities that facilitate good social connections. Parks also gives us green space to run around, have fun, and have healthy outdoor play and exercise. We also have safe facilities for organized recreation, some of which have pools and drop-in programs. Parks have special events in summer, such as summer's concerts in the park, swimming, cruise night, and day camps. Currently at our day camps, we have over 400 campers attending weekly at 6 different locations. We provide activities for youth ages 4 to 17. We are happy to receive the July as Parks and Recreation proclamation tonight. And here with me, I have 2 of the staff, Leslie Leon and Marissa Reynaga. We also have 5 different campers here who want to introduce themselves and say what they like about camp.
Hi, my name is Ava Watson, and what I like about camp is that how nice the counselors are and how well they treat us.
Cute.
Hi, my name is Aggie Carlson, and one thing I like about camp is that every week on Tuesdays we get to have a field trip.
Is this a field trip for you, or is this punishment?
Look at this little
Hi, my name is Hunter Watson, and the one thing I like about camp is that they provide a special lunch on Friday.
What is it? What kind of lunch is it? What is it?
Special.
That you like so much?
Sometimes different things.
Sometimes different things? That's great. Thank you.
My name's Kendrick Lena, and what I like about camp is that I get to make new friends.
Yay.
Very nice.
Right?
You took mine. You took mine.
Hi, my name is Bram Sarkisian, and my favorite part about camp is that we can make new friends.
Oh, he took it. He took your line. Oh.
We knew that.
They also made something for you guys. So if you guys want to come down and get the little craft that they made for you guys.
Okay. Oh. Wow.
Oh.
Good job, guys.
Thank you. That is beautiful. This is for you. It's
Oh, thank you so much. Here's a City of Glendale.
You have an extra one? Okay.
Same thing he's wearing. Thank you.
Here's a city. That's our craft. Thank you. Now, wait just a moment. I do have a proclamation, but I think you and the kids said it much better than any of our staff members could have written. I do just want to announce and proclaim that July 2015 is officially Parks and Recreation Month in the City of Glendale.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Friedman, would you?
Congratulations. I want to thank the counselors, the kids, and the parents for bringing them to the camp. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your summer. Thank you so much for participating.
Thank you.
And thanks, parents, whoever are out there.
We do have a speaker card submitted on this. Mr. Mohill, would you still like to speak?
Yes.
I'm going to give you 1 minute.
How about 2? Actually, I planned on 3, but I'll compromise.
I'll give you 2.
Okay.
I'll give you 2.
Good evening, council members. My name is Mike Mohill. Parks are very important to me. Been a proponent of soccer fields for South Glendale for many years. But I believe this proclamation, should be just a note and file. Why? Because we're only spending 10% of the general fund for parks. And 90% of the money for the parks comes from grants. Grants are nice, but they're coming from the federal government, the state, and the county. So where is all that money going to? 80% is required today to pay for the salaries and the pensions of our police and firefighters. And after 30 years of service, they get 90%. But we need to work on the parks. So where is the money going to again? Well, we just got an announcement in the papers today that CalPERS is only going to make 2.4% return on their investment and not 7.5%. That's 5.1% additional money from the general fund to pay for the CalPERS pensions. Council members, that's money that we can use for the parks, the soccer fields. The kids love it, but why must we continue having city employees leaving our city as new millionaires? Council members, how much is 5.1%? How many millions of dollars extra? You know, back in 2011 and 12, we paid an additional $58 million to CalPERS to pay for the pensions. And here we are again today. Our parks are getting dirtier. Got the slide already, real quickly? I want to show you this. Might I just show these parks real quick? I took some pic. Give me 30 extra seconds.
You can also roll it into communications at the end.
Well, this is to show you our parks. Okay, this is at Heritage Park. Okay, they're dirty. They're not maintained.
Look dirty to me.
Why aren't they maintained? Look at the dirty sidewalks. Look, there's no pot. There's no plants in that pot.
Thank you, Mr. Mohill.
Blame the recession. I know.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Clerk, what's next on the agenda?
3F is appointment of board and commission members. These are the appointments of Councilmember Garpetian. At F1 is Albert F. Cryan, Civil Service Commission. F2 is Aram Sahakian, Transportation and Parking Commission. F3 is Hiran Avanesian, GWP Commission. F4 is Grant Michaels, Parks, Recreation and Community Services Commission. F5 is Greg Astorian, Planning Commission. And F6 is Armik Avedisian, Building and Fire Board of Appeals.
Mr. Garbett.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I would like to move all of them except F1 and F6. F1 for I would like to postpone the voting on that. And also F6, I want to just change the nomination whenever the time is right. I would like to change the nomination from Building and Fire Boards to CDBG Commission. But I have other nominations as well for today.
Okay, let's go through on the voting, and then you can make your new nominations for the future date.
Right.
So you're moving F2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yes.
Can we do them as a group, or
You can do them all as a group if there's no objection from any council member.
are there any objections? No objections.
So
Do we need a
motion.
roll call?
Yes.
So your motion to move 2,
Second.
3, 4, 5. Seconded. Roll call, please.
Council members Devine,
Yes.
Friedman,
Yes.
Garpetian,
Yes.
Sinanian,
Yes.
Mayor Najarian.
Yes. Let me, since you have the floor, why don't you make your nominations for the future meeting?
Okay. For CDBG Commission, Mr. Armik Avedisian. Arts and Culture Commission, Mr. Sean Sahakian. For Design Review Board, Mr. Sevan Benlian. And for Audit Committee, Mr. Edmund Kachaturian.
Okay, those will be put on the future agenda.
Mayor, I have a nomination for a commission position, but I can wait for council comments, or I can do it right now.
Since you've raised it, why don't you
very well.
make a nomination?
Just a quick note, Mike Velasquez, who was the audit commissioner previously, has resigned from his position because he's overwhelmed with work. And I thank him for his service. He was a great commissioner and gave 100% to his position. So for that, I'm very thankful. I would like to nominate Alex Barajon for that position. And hopefully that can be put on the agenda for a vote.
Thank you. Let's go to 3G.
3G is appointments of board and commission members. These are the nominations of Councilmember Devine. G1 is Armando Gonzalez, Transportation and Parking. G2 is Elena Sadrian, Parks, Recreation and Community Services Commission. And G3 is Armina Perian, Commission on the Status of Women.
And would you like to move those 3 nominations?
Yes, I would. I'd like to move all 3. Armando is currently serving on transportation, and I know he's doing a great job, so I'd like to actually reappoint him. Armini Perian is an MBA, and she has leadership education, women's leadership. And finally, Ellen Asatrian, who is here in the audience tonight, is my nominee for Parks and Recreation. And so I would like to move all 3.
I'll second it.
Let's take roll call.
Council members Devine?
Yes.
Friedman?
Yes.
Garpetian?
Yes.
Sinanian?
Yes.
Mayor Najarian.
Yes.
Can we ask Ellen if she'd like to say a few words? Would you like to, Ellen? Mayor?
You can ask it's okay with me. Did you tell her about this beforehand?
not.
Or are you
I'm
testing her
yes, this is
nerve
it.
under fire?
Ellen's good under fire.
Honorable Mayor, council members, city staff, and community members, just want to thank you for this opportunity. I think I'm very well prepared for this commission. I've watched every episode of Parks and Recreation.
How about the reruns?
But in all honesty, I'm actually very excited about it. I find myself actually leaving Glendale a lot to participate in arts and culture and parks activities. So I hope that throughout my tenure on the commission that I'll be able to help build on what others have in the past. Thanks so much again.
Thank you, Ellen.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Okay. We're going to get through this agenda. Mr. Clerk, the next item.
Next item is the consent calendar. The following are routine and may be acted upon by one motion. Any member of council or the audience requesting separate consideration may do so by making such motion for request before motion is proposed.
Are there any requests?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull items C1 and E1.
CA?
C1. So let's
C1
just say
and,
C.
sorry, C1
E1.
and E1. Thank
C,
you.
let's say C and E. So we
C and E.
have for A, B, D.
Mr. Mayor, on 4A, since I wasn't here on July 7th, I have to abstain on voting on the minutes for July 7th. So,
Okay, your abstention will be noted. Any other requests to pull items? Okay, is there a motion then to move A, B, D?
So moved.
Is there a second?
second.
Roll call, please.
Council members Devine,
Yes.
Friedman,
Yes.
Garpetian,
Yes.
Sinanian.
Yes.
Mayor Najarian.
Yes. Let's read 4C.
4C is Director of Public Works and Community Services and Parks regarding Stengel Ball Field Clubhouse and Bleacher demolition and Brand Parks restroom demolition grading project. C1 is a motion authorizing city manager or his designee to execute change order number 1, $49,758.29, and number 2, $36,482.15 to the existing construction contract number 105878 with Triangle Enterprises, Inc. for that abatement of asbestos and relocation of an electrical vault as part of the Stengel Field Clubhouse and Bleacher demolition and Brand Park restroom demolition and grading project with specification number 3546 for a new not-to-exceed contract of $530,165.44. 2 is a resolution appropriation to appropriate a $6,240.44 in the Parks Mitigation Development Impact Fee Fund balance to Stengel Ball Field demolition project amount.
Mr. Ochoa?
Yes, sir.
Or let me ask
Sure.
Mr. Sinani if he has a particular issue or just a
The
general.
particular issue is, so there was a contract that was put out for bid, and the entity that's, I guess, now conducting the work was the prevailing party. And now, for whatever reason, I'd like that to be explained, this contract is being expanded to the tune of about $82,000, and I just want to know why, because contract goes from roughly $450 to $530. So.
That's right, sir. In the demolition work of the backstop and grandstand at Stengel Field, not the field itself. That's still going to be used by CV High School and by GCC as their home field. But as you know, we had to red tag the grandstand complex around it. Well, and the idea was to do a long-term lease with GUSD, allow them to take over the management of the entire facility just as an asset because they're the ones who generally will use it. Our commitment, however, was to do the demolition because it was indeed red tagged. Upon commencing the demolition, our contractor came across some asbestos-containing materials. That is the reason for the first change order. Okay. And so in terms of how that falls into the scope of work, I defer to Mr. Golanian. The second change order is there is the relocation of an electrical vault that is there that needs to be done. Couldn't be included originally as part of the bid because I think it was unknown as to where it was exactly. Now that we actually have started to do the demolition, we can see it. We know that we have to move it, but it is a change order from the original contract. Rubik, if there's anything else you want to add.
No, Mr. Ochoa covered everything that was intended for me to say, but I just wanted to add that the asbestos-containing material was in a concealed area. So when we were bidding the project, we weren't aware of it. Even if we had done exploratory site reconnaissance, had we discovered it, we would have paid this upfront as part of the contract. And we negotiated the change order price from $62,000 down to $50,000, which we think is reasonable.
Okay, very well. And again, the reason I ask that is because $80-some thousand increase on a $450,000 contract is a significant increase. So that may have made a huge difference initially when this was put out to bid. But I understand the circumstances that. So you're telling us that this asbestos was not discoverable during in the initial stages of the process, and therefore couldn't be accounted for. And same with the second change order.
Yeah, on the second change order, Councilman Sinanian, the relocation of the service vault will prevent interference with the demolition and will clear the site for future projects if it becomes materialized.
Okay. I'll move with the item.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Council members Devine,
Yes.
Greenman,
Yes. Yes.
Garpetian,
Yes.
Sinanian,
Yes.
Mayor Najarian.
Yes. 4E, please.
4E is General Manager of Glendale Water and Power and Chief Information Officer regarding agreement with Smart Utility Systems, Inc., SUS, to provide a full-scale smart customer mobile and portal platform for residential customers, optional professional services for additional modules and customer modifications, and pilot program for business customers for Glendale Water and Power. E1 is a motion authorizing an agreement with Smart Utility Systems, Inc. to provide annual licensing fee and hosting services for its smart customer mobile and portal platform for all residential customers in an amount not to exceed $428,000 for 2 years. Optional professional services for additional modules and customer modifications in an amount not to exceed $60,000, and to provide a pilot program for up to 2,000 business customers for up to 1 year in an amount not to exceed $50,000 for a total not to exceed cost of $538,000.
Okay, thank you. Who asked for, did you ask for this?
I did. I did.
Okay. Would you?
And again, I asked because it's a large contract and it just sounds like a lot of technical lingo, and I'd like staff to provide a more clear public explanation as to what's happening here and why a $538,000 contract just for 1 year is, I'm sorry, for 2 years. Yes, I apologize. For 2 years is justified at this time.
Pretty cool program having to do with the full utilization of Smart Grid. I'll have Mr. Zern and his staff talk about the app that we have.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as Mr. Ochoa indicated, this is essentially our GWP mobile app. And back in December, council approved a pilot program where we had a maximum of 2,000 residential users who could sign up for it. We've had about 1,600, and it's been a very successful program in the eyes of not only those using it, but also in the integration of our systems. It is a full-service interactive mobile app. It allows you to do everything from see your water and your electric data usage, manage your accounts, set parameters, set budgets so that you can get actual text alarms that will tell you if you've set yourself a $100 electrical budget for this month and you know, here you are, you're there. It allows you to pay your bill. It allows you to make service requests to Water and Power. So it is a full-service interactive mobile app. We tested it on the pilot basis, as I said. The company, SUS, was vetted and recommended to us by the Department of Energy originally. This is a system that integrates and meshes perfectly with ours. And I know I've said this before, and you've heard me say this before, but we made certain decisions in putting together the backbone structure of our modernization program. And a lot of times we go with firms that can handle that backbone, and sometimes there's only one. But this firm had been vetted by the DOE. They've since been vetted through an RFP process by SCAPA. And as you know, we are a member of SCAPA and take advantage of the opportunity for that to be bid on a competitive basis. It included the mobile app functions as well. What we're asking is to expand the residential program for the app, to also add a commercial business pilot program of 2,000, which is a separate program that's designed more specifically and tailored more specifically for businesses. The intervals are increased. It allows a little bit more interaction from businesses who want to make decisions on a quicker basis. So we're going to test that with a 2,000. We did put a contingency amount of money in there if in fact we wanted to add features to the system. It's not a guarantee, but there are some features that are under development that we think may be very beneficial to our customers. So this allows our customers, again, trying to use every means possible to give our customers the opportunity to personally manage their usage, to have the information on hand and up to date, to be able to pay their bills remotely. It's a big deal. So we've got it on computers. We've got it on remote locations where you can pay your bill, whatever your desire is. And obviously, there's a certain segment, our younger folks tend to like to use the phone and all that goes with it. And I think it's been very successful to date. Again, the company SUS did a survey, follow-up survey, and it was, acceptance and satisfaction was near 75%. We then included also a general set of questions in our annual survey of our customers asking about the ability for us to provide them with mobile app and on-time, real-time information, and that was extremely well received, and we got a very, very good response from our customers on that. So all of that said, it's part of our modernization effort. This is a 2-year agreement that includes not only the expansion of the residential, but as I said, some potential future add-ons to our system and in our business pilot program.
Okay, so 75% of all the users of all the
75% of those that were using it,
okay,
were very, very satisfied with the app.
Using the app?
Yes.
What percentage of all customers of electricity and all?
Right now, because it was a pilot program, we're at about 1,600, so that's just a small number. Okay. We're hoping to expand to 10,000, which is a significant number. You look at the number of meters we have 85,000 electric meters, we have about 35,000 water meters. So we think that by the end of 2017, we will certainly have the 10,000, and we'll evaluate it then, 10,000 customers, or those 10,000 users of the app. We'll reevaluate it then and come back if we need to expand it further. We're really hoping that the business app takes off as well because there has been demand for that.
Okay. And I guess what I'm trying to understand is this, it's an app. It's a utilitarian app. But is this just like a luxury that we can afford to not invest in, or we can not necessarily get engaged in? And I'll admit that in my household, I have someone who uses this app every day. My father is obsessed with this thing. He always, even when he's traveling in Europe and on the other side of the ocean, he always wants to know what's happening inside the house, and he uses it every day. But he's a retired engineer. But is this something that really, like, our residents really have a use for, en masse?
I think Mr. Sinanian, absolutely. I mean, not every single customer is going to get the benefit of the app. But I think the ability for a great many of our customers to be able to utilize this to manage their system. So, for instance, to be able to easily connect with Glendale Water and Power that doesn't have to go through a phone call situation where they can pay their bill remotely. But most importantly, where these applications, is this essential in us providing water and electrical services to our customers? No. Is it a great feature to have that allows our customers to be more interactive and ultimately leads to things like conservation and smart usage of your electrical and
access
water?
by way of mobile device? I mean, I think we all look at this and marvel that there's an entire industry that wasn't here 15 years ago, 10 years ago even, because people they use their mobile device for everything. And as you're seeing more and more emphasis on conservation now, especially with water, you're seeing the ability to make adjustments via your mobile device go from actually what was probably a luxury at some point to being an absolute necessity. You're not in the market if you're not mobile.
And to give you an idea of some of the potential future features that we might add is the ability to remotely turn off your devices. So
that's just crazy talk.
Oh God! I left the house and did you turn the lights off? Did you turn everything off? And you'll be able to remotely to go back in and see. Oh yeah, you have lights on. Bang, bang, bang. I'll turn them off, or consequently turn them on if you're using it for some sort of security type of a situation. So that's one potential future the use that we have for it. But again, we're asking our customers to be more involved, to be more conscious of what they do. And when you're talking about, as Mr. Ochoa indicated, used to be every 2 months you'd get that piece of paper and go, wow, it was done by then. Your usage was done. I can try to do better next month, but, wow, where is that happening? And so I think just that whole fact of giving people the ability to personally manage their usage is going to be great for us. I think it takes a bit of a load off the staff for having to provide certain services. And it also gives the customers more access to the information that's critical to them. Again, I think the one idea of setting the budget, I thought that was a great part of this. You wait and get your $500 GWP bill, every 2 months. And in between, you could have had the ability to say, look, this is where we're at. Now, the reality of whether you can meet that budget number or not is another thing. But I think there is a great deal of interest in this.
Thank you, Mr. Zern. Ms. Friedman?
First, thank you to Mr. Sinanian for pulling this item because it's interesting, and I think the community is. A lot of people are probably very interested to hear about this and learn about it. I have two questions. First, so this program is going to cost about $500,000 for 2 years.
Correct.
Now, is that an ongoing cost to operate it, or is that an initial setup cost that goes away once you've implemented it?
We expect that if we don't add to the system in the future, that the cost may go down slightly, but you still have the licensing fee and the portal.
That every year. It wouldn't have been, given that it's ongoing, would it have been cheaper for us to hire some 16-year-olds to write it ourselves, write it in-house?
Well, it's not just a matter of having the app. It's a matter of integrating it with the system we have and then keeping the portal open.
Okay,
and we haven't found anybody who can do that.
So you need to go to the right high schools, I think.
I guess.
My other question is that clearly there's some rate impact. I mean, it's not a lot given the budget of the utility, but there's some rate impact. Have we done any analysis, or do we have any idea of kind of whether our customers will save that same money back by using this app? In other words, if it makes your electric bill go up 5 cents a month, do you save that 5 cents by using this app in terms of being able to better manage your power and water usage?
And Ms. Friedman, I couldn't give you an exact number, but if you are actively using this app, then I guarantee you're going to be able to better manage your system and likely lower your cost. For us, we've reduced our staffing levels by about 25% in the customer service operation. I don't expect with these kind of technology advancements that I need to ever go back to the way we were. I think we can keep our operations thin.
Well, that's a very good justification for this, and I would just like to remind staff, not that you need reminding, but as we take on these kinds of programs, to be able to have that kind of financial analysis as justification for why we're spending money on these kinds of things, so that if somebody does come and say, well, isn't this just kind of gravy or something that you're doing that's flash, that just costs us money, that we can answer them with something resembling as close to hard figures as we can get. Mm-hmm. And as we do our budgeting every year, and I've talked for a long time about doing metrics and performance-based budgeting, where we're really looking at it and being able to evaluate every program, that when this one comes up next time, as we that we collect data along the way, so that we can give this council and future councils as clear an indication as we can as to a cost-benefit analysis.
Sure.
Okay, great, thank you.
As we were debating this issue, Mr. Mohill saw an opening and slipped his card in. So I'm going to give Mr. Mohill 2 minutes.
Why not 3?
Mr. Weaver had a talk with me and said I'm too generous with you.
Good evening, council members. My name is Mike Mohill. This is a luxury that we don't need to spend money on. As it is, we're spending $75 million for smart meters. Remember when we voted on those things? I didn't vote on it. Council did. I remember Mr. Manukian sitting there one evening. He said, I don't need smart meters. When my water and electric bill goes too high, I tell my kids, that's it, kids. No water, no electricity, no TV. Why do we need to spend high-tech money? I'm not rich. I'm on Social Security. I'm on a government pension. I'm not a firefighter. I'm not a policeman. I'm just the average person. 2,000 people are using this. Wow. Out of how many customers do we have, Mr. Zern? GWP. Mr. Mayor, how many customers?
We can answer that for you, but why don't you make an assumption and go forward and we'll correct it.
So we have a luxury that I don't believe the taxpayers need to spend. Better spend that money in cleaning up our parks. That's where we should spend that money. We don't need smart meters. We don't need a high-tech app. Thank you.
And for the record, how many accounts do we have at GWP? 50,000?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we have 85,000 electric customers and approximately 33,000 water customers.
Thank you. Okay, so for E, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll move the item.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Council members Devine?
Yes.
Friedman?
Yes.
Garpetian?
Yes.
Sinanian?
Yes.
Mayor Najarian?
Yes. Now, I would like to go out of order. There have been some folks waiting patiently from the Special Olympics. I apologize. Someone probably said, oh, we'll be with you in a half hour. We're now about 7:30, but I will take you out of order now. Special Olympics, folks, please come forward. And is there a Kim?
Yes.
Villa? Okay. This is
Good evening. Thank you on behalf of Special Olympics. This is our host town committee, and we have a couple of city employees as a part of our staff. But thank you, City Council, Glendale Economic Development Corporation, Downtown Glendale Association, Glendale PD, so many community members who have been working with us to provide us with a great week that we have ahead. A week from today, we have delegations arriving from Armenia, Bonaire, and the Dominican Republic to spend 3 days here in Glendale and see what we have to offer. We'll be at the Americana and the Galleria, and we just want to say thank you on behalf of those athletes that are going to get a special treat. Thank you for supporting the efforts a year ago, for stepping up and saying we're behind you, and we're all very excited for what's to come. So thank you.
Thank you. That was Mayor Sinanian a year ago, I remember, when he accepted the offer or the challenge.
Yes, and as the head of this wonderful committee, I want to applaud them and for all their hard work and say thank you. And I want to thank the council as well again for your leadership in this. And we're proud to do it. And thank our sponsors. For the folks at home, please take some time to look at those sponsors. We couldn't have done it without them and the council voting to do this. So thank you very much. We're very excited to highlight Glendale next week to these athletes. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is that true? Thank you. Would you like to introduce yourselves? I know you're putting a lot of hard work in this.
Please.
Okay.
We know who you are. Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've been part of this. So one thing we want to make sure everybody knows, especially the community, next Wednesday night on the 22nd, the Olympic torch for World Games is coming through Glendale. It's going to come down Brand Boulevard. It's going to end its day at the Americana. And we're going to have an event on the green at the Americana. And we really want to invite the community to come out, cheer on the torch as it comes down Brand Boulevard, line the streets, come to the Americana, and experience this great event. We will have our host athletes here. So it's really a kind of a nice confluence of events where we're going to have our host athletes here in town. We're going to have the torch here in town. And it's going to be a great event at the Americana. It's about 5 o'clock, between 5 and 6 o'clock, next Wednesday night, 22nd. Come on out and cheer on our athletes and cheer on the torch. So thank you. And again, thank you to the city for all your support of this great event.
We ask where can the crowds line up on Brand? Just right before the Americana, or?
Mr. Chairman.
Wonderful question. Thank you. So this procession will start up at Glen Oaks. It'll travel south on Brand, wrap around by the Galleria, in between the Galleria and the Americana, and then it'll land at the green at the Americana for the ceremony.
And it starts on Glen Oaks at 5?
About 5 o'clock. They'll get to the Americana at Brand at about 5:15.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you very much. Hey. Mr. Clerk.
Next to City Council and staff comments.
Mr. Garpetian.
Yes, speaking of Olympics and sports, I want to acknowledge our U.S. women's soccer team that they won the World Championship again, the World Cup again, for the third time, not in a row, but for the third time. And they're not just the World Cup champions, they're also the Olympic champions. And I was in New York when they had a parade for them, and I saw a couple of signs. It said equal pay for female athletes. And I think what we need to do is start building smaller venue stadiums for these athletes to start having a league, a stronger league in the United States and promote their soccer team, because what they've done, our men's team hasn't done it yet. So I want to acknowledge that and congratulate all of us for a great victory. We watched the game and it was very exciting. And I want to say that some of the players were really underrated, like Carly Lloyd, and she scored 3 goals in 16 minutes. And the coach was he wasn't sure even that he was going to play her or not. She's going to be in the starting lineup or not. But she came in and proved everybody wrong. And I love players like that. So it was.
I'll call the coach.
You called it? I already did. So, yeah, it was very, very, very encouraging for me. So I just want to mention that, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Ms. Devine.
We had a lovely 2-week vacation, and it was quite fun to get back to the real life. But I managed to attend the Glendale Chamber of Commerce Gala, and it was beautiful during the evening under the stars. And I want to congratulate Marco Swan, because he's the new president. We also had a chance, some of us, to go to the Antaeus Theater, and I just want to tell the community that you really have something to look forward to. We happened to, they were producing a picnic, and it was amazing. So really you should look forward to supporting the theater here in Glendale. It's going to be fantastic. I also wanted to mention that going along with sports and the athletics, the archery team that was here a few weeks ago that had won the state championship, and I'm sorry, I can't recall if they were Hoover or Glendale High School, but they went on to Glendale. Yeah. They went on to the Nationals and won 1st place and 4th place, so they continued to succeed in their sport, and I think we should commend them as well. And finally, one of the events that I attended was a Not on My Watch, and this was presented by Glendale Wellness Works and our Veterans Coalition. And it was on the bridge, Suicide Bridge as it's called, in Pasadena, and it was to raise awareness of the many suicides that are occurring with our vets coming back from combat. They had over 300 vets that volunteered to walk that bridge for 24 hours for 7 days. And I went on the final closing ceremonies, and they honored 3 families, all of which had lost someone. I even met World War II vets. It was quite amazing, and I hope that next year we'll get more support from our Glendale community. I know that Lisa Raggio and Colonel Nancy Sumner were instrumental in that, and also Kathy Lynch from Wellness Works. And so I just wanted to compliment them on a fantastic event, not on my watch. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments?
May we bring up Cindy Cleary, from Director of our Libraries, Arts and Culture, talk about an event coming up?
Yes, we may.
Cindy.
Thank you. I'm happy to announce and invite you all to the grand opening or the groundbreaking ceremony of the Central Library renovation on July 16th, this coming Thursday at 11 o'clock, with presentations at 11:30. We will have some special storybook characters on site to visit with everyone, as well as our mayor and members of council to help us with the ribbon cutting. We also are going to be launching an art piece that's sponsored by the Arts and Culture Commission called Glendale Wings by an artist, Colette Miller. You can see it up there on the screen, and it'll give people an opportunity. This will be traveling through the city of Glendale, including cruise night, and will allow people to take photo opportunities for social media and whatnot. So we're kind of excited about that.
What are the names of those characters?
Well, let's see. On the upper left is Curious George. On the upper right is Madeline. And on the lower middle is Clifford the dog, the red dog. Yeah.
Big red dog.
And then there'll be one more that's a surprise guest. So they will be available for autographs. I've given you something called a library passport that we will be given out to everyone, and it will be just like Disneyland. You can go up to the character and you can get an autograph from the characters that we just talked about. So as you can imagine, I'm really excited that we are moving forward with this project, and I'd like to thank you, City Council, for your vision and your support. The Central Library has been in the downtown area since 1973, and your dedication to our services and to the building as a community asset is very much appreciated by me, as well as the 1,500 to 2,000 people that walk through our door every day. Now, I know you've heard a lot about the renovation and what to expect at the end of it, but I wanted to quickly just go through some of the highlights. First of all, the project will be managed by our Public Works Department in association with our architect, Gruen Associates, and then our contractor, Kemp Brothers. Some of the highlights include a relocated entry to the north and south to provide a stronger civic presence in the downtown and connect better with the Adult Recreation Center and Brand Boulevard and the Arts and Entertainment District. A programmable plaza, which you see up on the screen, on the north side of the building, as well as landscaping upgrades throughout. Increased and enhanced study, conference programming, and community spaces. Exhibition walls, enhanced access to technology through a tech lab, enhanced Wi-Fi and more access points, more self-service options, an expanded and quiet reading area on the upper level. I think you'll all look forward to this one. Auditorium upgrades, new sound system, new lighting. We're going to be adding a green room for our performers, and a kitchenette will be added. We will also, a couple new services, a room dedicated to man's inhumanity to man and the resilience of the human spirit, and a maker space where people can come and create and invent and just come together and talk about whatever projects they're working on. Of course, ADA compliant features, improved restrooms, and a new elevator that's ADA accessible, and then structural improvements, HVAC, the comforts of home, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, and life safety improvements. So one more announcement, and that's that construction will begin on July 20th, and we hope that it'll be finished by January of 2017. It's a five-phase plan, and that will allow us to keep the library open so as not to slow down the work of the contractors. We're doing our best to minimize the impact to service. However, portions of our book collection and other services will be in storage, and some of our services will be moved to other sites and other alternative locations. Additionally, and this is probably the biggest change, beginning on August 31st, we will be changing our hours so as not to conflict with the contractor hours. So we will be open Monday through Thursday, 2:30 to 10. Fridays we will be closed. Saturday and Sunday we will be open from 9 to 6. So we will, even though we will have fewer hours, we'll be expanding our hours in the evening and on weekends. So I think that will accommodate a lot of the need that we will lose with the morning hours. We also are working on expanding our branch hours, but I have not worked through the details of that. So once again, I invite everyone to join us for the groundbreaking on Thursday, July 16th, 11 o'clock, 11:30 for the presentations, and I hope everybody can come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I was handed a card regarding agenda item 4B, but 4B has already passed, Mr. Mohill. That was part of the consent calendar. Was it 4B you wanted to speak about, or
whatever the librarian is talking about right now?
Oh, well, yeah, that's a community announcement.
Just a community announcement, yeah.
Oh,
unfortunately, you won't have a chance to talk about that. Mr. City Clerk, did we finish with City Council and staff comments?
I'm not sure.
I think we did, unless someone else has a comment. Then let's move on to the next item, please.
Next item would be community event announcements.
Okay. I have a card from Velvet Roads, followed by Carol Bruscia.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, council staff, and the city of Glendale. My name is Velvet Rhodes. I am a producer, I have my own production company called Velvet Roads Productions, and we are currently making a documentary about vintage, glorious Glendale. I'm here to invite you to be in it. I would love to film the great City Hall and also have all your vintage photographs. The other thing we're doing is the Glendale International Film Festival, the second year. We're going to be screening films from around the world in Glendale at the MGM 5-star cinema. Last year we were completely sold out, and we had filmmakers from around the world coming to Glendale. This year we're having our opening night party at the Alex Theatre, where we're going to be screening vintage, glorious Glendale. So it's quite exciting, and I would like you to participate and support us, sponsor us, get involved, and maybe we can even get you on camera. Because Glendale, the City Hall, is such a beautiful, beautiful building. I think it would be a very good addition to the documentary, which is all about the good things of Glendale. The libraries, the schools, the theaters, and the good restaurants, the great people. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rhodes. May I direct you to our agents sitting in the back, Dan Bell and Tom Lorenz, who could facilitate some of your requests.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
They'll be happy to discuss that with you. And good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker, Carol Bruscia.
Good evening, council members. My name's Carol Bruchet. I'm with Northwest Glendale Homeowners Association. And a week from Thursday, July 23rd at 7 p.m., there is going to be a community meeting put on by the city. It'll be at Brand Library to discuss two vital issues, traffic and water. And there was supposed to be something coming on the screen, but I guess it didn't. We are having Northwest Glendale is helping the city with this program, and we are having Police Chief Robert Castro and Steve Zern, manager of GWP, as our speakers. And I'd like to introduce Chief Castro to say a few words about this program. We hope everyone will come.
Thank you. Again, Mr. Zern and I are privileged to have the opportunity to address two critical issues in Glendale, traffic safety and water conservation, with members of the community in Northwest Glendale. This meeting is a continuance of open dialogue with the community on critical issues. It also supports the council's vision of bringing government out into the community to keep them informed and have open sources of dialogue where we can discuss critical issues and bring the community up to speed on some of the progress we are making on issues as we continue to improve the quality of life in this community. So we look forward to that opportunity next Thursday night.
A week from Thursday.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank
Do
you
you
very
want to
much.
say anything, Mr. Zern?
No, ma'am. I think the chief covered it. I'm
Okay.
very honored to be invited and looking forward to being able to meet everyone and talk about my little part of the world here in Glendale, but an important one at that. And so, thank you again.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Steve, when was that picture taken?
Oh, man.
No, it was a week ago. What are you trying to say? So we used my high school graduation photo, and I've heard nothing but grief about that. So.
Mr. Garbettian.
Yes, I just want to mention that I was invited to speak before Northwest Homeowners Association, and there is a huge concern about traffic and speeding and people racing, and the stories that I heard, it was horrifying. People are doing donuts in residential neighborhoods. So I encourage everybody to show up and voice their concern and voice their opinion. So hopefully we can find a solution for this problem. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
If I might add, it's actually not just for Northwest homeowners, it's for the whole community, because this is a problem that we hear about, I think all of us all over the community, about the traffic and also the drought in water. So everyone is invited.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other cards, so I will close this portion of oral communications. And let's move on to the next item, please.
Mr. Mayor and Council, item 8A is Director of Community Development regarding appointment of new resident member of the Glendale Housing Authority. 8A1 is a motion of new appointment of Joseph Kelly as the Glendale Housing Authority resident member.
Okay, Mr. Sinanian, then Mayor Sinanian, and myself conducted a series of interviews for the position on the Glendale Housing Authority, which has recently been vacated by Mr. Mincy. We had quite a few applications, and we, after much thought and deliberation, decided that Mr. Joseph Kelly would be the very best representative to take the seat vacated by Mr. Mincy. And I don't have his, do I have his resume here?
It's here. It's in the
It's in the package. Here we go. Mr. Okay.
His application's there.
Mr. Kelly is a longtime resident of Glendale. And, well, he has a very much of a giving back attitude to return the efforts and the graces which Glendale has bestowed upon him to our working group on the Glendale Housing Authority. And I believe he's in the room. Is he in the room? No. I thought he was here. Okay. So I would ask that someone make the nomination at 8A1.
I will nominate Mr. Kelly.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Council members: Devine?
Yes.
Friedman?
Yes.
Garpetian?
Yes.
Sinanian?
Yes.
Mayor Najarian.
Yes. Next item, please.
Next item at 8B is Director of Public Works regarding Chevy Chase Sewer Diversion and Public Works Yard Recycle Water Main Extension Project. B1 is a motion awarding construction contract to Layden Bunich Construction Inc. Company, Inc. in the amount of $10,296,696 and rejecting all other bids. B2 is a resolution of appropriation.
Okay, Mr. Ochoa.
A rather, somewhat exciting. It's not wrong to say it's exciting. It is very exciting. To the extent that the City Council, one of its priorities in this past year, I think Mayor Najarian will certainly recall that the theme, if you will, of this current year's budget is infrastructure investment, and how better to really animate that than by focusing on a project that has been a long time in development and actually is more than just a healthy investment in our infrastructure, but one that actually will save us money with an ROI that is in excess and better than what the industry standard would have you otherwise utilize for this type of infrastructure improvement. So with that, we have a few pictures to show you, just so you fully get the picture of what it is that will be going on with this sewer program, why we call it the sewer diversion program, and how we utilize our own facility, LAGWRP, the LA Glendale Water Reclamation Plant that we co-own with the City of LA, which you will be touring next month as part of your work boot field visit. And with that, we'll turn it over to Rubik.
Thank you, Mr. Ochoa. Again, we are very excited to start this large-scale and very interesting project that consists of construction of approximately 4,300 linear feet of large-diameter sewer pipeline by using open trench and trenchless technology method. As part of this project, we'll also extend the recycled water line into the Public Works maintenance yard to use in water tanks and for washing debris off the equipment, and this will save 2.5 million gallons of potable water annually. The open trench construction will start outside the maintenance yard and move to Los Angeles Street, then Garfield Avenue and Chevy Chase Drive. The trenchless method will be used along a portion of San Fernando Road, then under the large storm drain box at Goodwin, and under the railroad tracks at Elk and Colorado, and finally through Colorado Boulevard in the city of Los Angeles. The work is anticipated to begin this September, and barring adverse weather conditions like an El Nino, it will continue for 16 months. This slide shows a typical trenchless construction layout, which in this project will have 7 jacking and receiving pits ranging in depth from 20 to 45 feet. These will accommodate jacking and boring equipment, steel casing to push the sewer pipes through, safety shields, manholes, and metering flumes. This is a picture of one of our recent conventional open-cut trench sewer installation, which in this project will vary in depth again from 15 to 30 feet. A long way down. As is the case with any construction project, there will be some traffic and access impacts. Based on our experience from the recently completed Glendale Avenue project, we will mitigate and try to minimize these impacts. The measures that we'll undertake will include wider use of social media, phasing of the construction schedule, allowing temporary parking in restricted areas, night work along San Fernando Road, and maybe 24-hour work if we need to dewater the trenches, steel plates for proper access, extensive signage, signal timing adjustments, and use of police officers for traffic control at the busy intersections. We will also have at least one full-time inspector and a part-time construction manager on the job to ensure that installation and upkeep of proper traffic control measure at all times. We've already started the public notification process with a community meeting and will continue to disseminate information through directors' letters, contractors' letters, signage, door hangers, advanced no parking signs, updates on our website, and alternative access for closure of driveways. We will also have another member of staff regularly visiting the businesses to ensure that we accommodate their needs. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, Mr. Garvichin.
Could you explain the trenchless system?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council.
How do you install the sewer lines in the trenchless system?
Council Member Garpetian. So the first order of business is digging a jacking pit where the tunneling, for discussion's sake, will be moved down to the jacking pit.
Show it on the picture. Go back.
So on the right-hand corner, actually on the left-hand corner, you see the diagram that shows the jacking pit and the tunneling machines already boring through the depth of where the jacking pit stops, and the pieces of the sewer pipe are lowered and pushed through a steel casing, and then steel casing is moved forward as we move the jacking pits about every 300 to 400 feet apart. So every 300-400 feet we'll have a jacking pit and a receiving pit. Pull the steel plate out, the sewer sections will be put in place, and then we move like a domino effect up to the end of the line.
What's the diameter on this?
The diameter of the pipes, they vary from 36 to 52 inches.
That's a big pipe.
Thank you.
I have a question. You mentioned that you had an outreach community meeting on January 7th. Was it well attended, and what were the results?
Actually, Councilmember Devine, it was unfortunately not well attended, but we are preparing a video clip of the same presentation. We'll put it on our website for everyone to be able to view, and we inform the residents and businesses who missed the community meeting to watch it on the website.
Great. So they'll all have an opportunity to see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Questions, comments, motion?
I'll move the item.
8B 1 and 2.
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Council members Devine,
Yes.
Friedman,
Yes.
Garpetian,
Yes.
Sinanian,
Yes.
Mayor Najarian.
Yes. Next item.
Next item on the agenda
And AC is General Manager of Glendale Water and Power regarding consideration of agreements to terminate the City of Glendale's ownership share in the San Juan coal-fired power plant located in San Juan County, New Mexico. C1 is motion approving the San Juan Project Restructuring Agreement, the San Juan Decommissioning and Trust Funds Agreement, and 3, the amended and restated Mine Reclamation Agreement, and directing the City Manager to authorize Southern California Public Power Authority, SCPPA, to execute such agreements on behalf of the City of Glendale, and finding that the City of Glendale's approval of such agreements is categorically exempt from the requirements of the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA.
Okay, Mr. Ochoa.
Again, another momentous step in our infrastructure program, in this case, in part of our energy portfolio. As you have heard many, many times, coal is one of the cheapest forms of energy that we have through GWP, although when the facility begins to age, as the San Juan plant, unit number 3, I believe that we have a 1.2% ownership stake in, as that facility begins to age, then the cost efficiency begins to drop. At this point, that particular unit is going to be decommissioned. It gives us the opportunity to exit our ownership and our relationship through SCAPA with this facility at this site. And there are costs and obligations that run with our ownership in this particular facility. And so I'll have Mr. Zern go through what those 3 agreements are and why this is ultimately in the best interest both of Glendale Water and Power by way of our cost as well as our renewable portfolio with the mandates that we have to meet with the state of California. Steve?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as Mr. Ochoa has indicated, this is a great opportunity for us to divest ourselves from coal. And as you all know, that is the goal of not only the state of California, who have been much more aggressive in this area, but certainly the federal government as well. The opportunity arose when this particular facility in San Juan County, New Mexico, began to experience some problems. It was aging. It was not very efficient. And it was targeted by the EPA in the state of New Mexico, primarily for its poor emissions history. There's 4 operating units. As Mr. Ochoa indicated, we have a small portion of one of those operating units. At the end of the day, the decision was made to decommission 2 of those units, one of those being the number 3 unit. So that gives us an opportunity to exit this agreement. The way it is now set up, it'll be through 2017. When we will leave that particular facility. We do have some decommissioning costs that are known right now that we will have to that we have an obligation to pay into both the plant decommissioning and the mine decommissioning. This is a hand-to-mouth operation. The mine is right next to the power plant, so it comes out to the mine and into the plant. This is our participation in San Juan is through the Southern California Public Power Authority, so they are taking the lead on this, and then a number of agencies within SCAPA have interest in the plant and will contribute towards what the ultimate responsibility of SCAPA is. There are 2 trust funds that will be set up. SCAPA will put money into those trust funds, and those will be what are used to pay out the ultimate decommissioning responsibilities. However, and I can tell you that for the mine, SCAPA will be having, by the end of 17, approximately $18 million in that account, of which 10% is the Glendale share. And in the plant, they'll have $3.8 million. Again, 10% of that is Glendale's share. When I say that those are what we know today, there's always the possibility that by the time this facility is fully decommissioned, that laws may have changed, that the EPA may require more. They may require more restoration or a little bit more financially burdensome cleanup costs that they want us to undertake, and we do have a responsibility to do that. So there are some unknown costs that could be in the future. Again, as Mr. Ochoa indicated, we have such a small interest in the plant to begin with that even some of the estimates that have been thrown around of $100 to $150 million, that's something that's manageable, and we do have a certain amount of money that are in the trust funds. What's more important is this very inefficient plant is costing us a lot of money for the energy we get out of it, about 100,000 megawatt hours per year. As Mr. Ochoa again indicated, coal is generally speaking, even with recent environmental assessment or taxes that the state of California puts on it for carbon, is relatively an inexpensive source. This particular plant is an exception. We have coal fire generation ranging anywhere from $60 to $100 a megawatt hour. That's very, very expensive. So our ability to not only decommission ourselves from coal to exit this agreement, but then take the money that we had been spending on this plant and turn it around to buy cheaper and more environmentally friendly power is really a golden opportunity. And this combined with, as you recall, a few weeks ago, I was here to talk to you about our other coal interest at the IPP plant in Utah, where that goal is to repower that plant into a natural gas facility. It still remains to be seen what our participation, that was harder than it seemed, will be in that particular project. But you can see that we've got, a real positive outlook for somewhere around 2025 to 2027 to be completely off coal. So we're happy with that. I think Mr. Peters and Mr. Abuega here, Mr. Peters deserves a lot of credit. He negotiated this along with SCAPA staff, going on a regular basis to negotiate with the New Mexico government and the operators of the plant was not an easy task, but I think they came up with a very good agreement. So we're happy with where we are at now. We think this is beneficial to the city. It gets us moving in the right direction with regards to renewable green energy and getting us off coal. And the opportunity arose, and we certainly wanted to take advantage of that. So with that, if you have any questions, I'm sorry, I don't know if I gave the number. The committed number we have for the decommissioning is $625,000. That includes both the plant and the mine. That money will be part of our payments through 2017, so there's no additional monies that have to come out. It's all part of what our regular payments are. I will tell you today, our annual payments for this plant, on average, are about $9 million a year. So our thinking is that we can buy a lot of real clean energy here for that $9 million. I can tell you, our folks are doing a great job of buying, even on the spot market, being able to buy relatively inexpensive green energy. So we look at this as a win-win all the way around. We get off of an out-of-state coal project. We save money, and at the same time, we're able to turn around and purchase cleaner, cheaper energy for our ratepayers. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. If you'd like more technical information, I can turn it over to the experts.
Are there any questions? Ms. Friedman?
Well, it's not a question. I just want to say this is great work. Getting ourselves off coal, which of course is not sustainable and is polluting, is a big priority of mine, and I know for the city as well. And the fact that we're doing this and also saving money and able to invest it in renewable energy is a real bonus as far as I'm concerned. So good work, and I hope that we will continue to look at any coal that we purchase and do our best to get out of coal as quickly as we can.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Mr. Sinania?
Like Mr. Zern said, it's a win-win. I think it's a wonderful opportunity. I'd like to move the item.
I'll second.
I have a question.
Mr. Garpetian?
We have transmission rights right now, right?
Correct.
What happens to those?
There's no transmission rights associated with this particular facility. We do have transmission rights with the IPP facility, which is the key. That's the Utah facility. Okay. That's a lot of a different situation. We use our existing transmission rights under our agreement with the city of Los Angeles to move power from San Juan. So this doesn't have the connected transmission rights that the Utah IPP Intermountain Power Project has. So this is a much cleaner exit for us.
And I'm sorry.
Thank you. What is the future of this plant? What do you think is going to happen to it?
Well,
I have a small share, but what's going to happen?
Mr. Garpetian, I think that they're going to have a couple of choices. They've decided to retrofit 2 of their units with this very expensive emissions control system and continue to operate it. Obviously, the state of California is much more aggressive in their emission standards and energy fuel restrictions than any other state. However, the federal EPA is also moving, albeit slower than California, but is moving in that direction. So the sense is that they may have to get to a point where they have a decision like IPP did. Do they repower this plant? Do they scrap it? Do they rebuild it? Do they sell the coal off to foreign interests? So that's all going to be dependent on those who decide to stay in the plant. And that'll be primarily, as far as we know, non-California agencies that will remain in the plant. Almost all the California agencies will be exiting, either through SCAPA. There are also the city of Anaheim, who's not involved in this through SCAPA. They'll be exiting as well.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead. All right. Okay. You mentioned unknown costs in the future. Are you referring to the remedial costs that you mentioned in the staff report? And that's like a wash. We'd have to pay those whether we terminate this agreement or not, correct?
That's right. We have an obligation as an owner of this facility to make good on those costs. The point I was trying to make is they're unknown from the standpoint of could laws change because the state of New Mexico asked for more. They've talked about something as simple as fencing it off to all the way restoring it back to the exact way it was before a shovel was ever put in the ground or a plant was ever constructed there. So we'll wait and see. But I think again, SCAPA has done a good job in looking ahead to that. We have project reserves with SCAPA in general, so I think we're good there. And we have such a small ownership interest in this that anything that might be required is manageable. And I think as a city of Glendale, we want to do the right thing and make sure that we're leaving someplace the way that it should be left. Although we will negotiate anything that's unreasonable, and we have, we certainly don't want to leave the state of New Mexico with as having been a less than desirable tenant. So, we know we have an obligation. We just want to make sure it's fair.
Ms. Friedman?
Yeah, just a tangential question. A while ago, I had asked that at some future point you bring back a report about how we're doing with rooftop solar.
Correct.
And if there's any barriers for our residents, and if we have goals that we've set and how we're going to get to them. So I just want to make sure that that's still on track.
Right. And Ms. Friedman, we have an upcoming item that actually has a dual purpose. It is for you to adopt standards that state legislature has passed with regards to expediting permitting for rooftop solar, and at the same time we're going to provide you with that update that you asked. We thought it was a good mesh on the topic.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion at 8?
I moved it.
C.
There's a
Moved
motion.
and seconded. Roll call, please.
Council members Devine?
Yes.
Friedman?
Yes.
Garpetian?
Yes.
Sinanian?
Yes.
Mayor Najarian?
Yes. Next item.
D is Director of Public Works regarding contractual tree maintenance services contract. D1 is resolution dispensing with competitive bidding and awarding a contract to West Coast Arborists Inc. in the amount of $5,317,500 over 5 years for tree maintenance services.
You, Mr. Ochoa.
Yes, sir. The maintenance of 47,000 parkway and median street trees that are the obligation of the City of Glendale is handled by the Public Works Department. Periodically, we put this item out to bid. We recently did put this work out to bid, about $1 million a year worth of maintenance work. And as you see in the report, what we're asking for is a little over $5 million for a 5-year contract. But we are asking that we dispense with competitive bidding. The reason for that, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Golanian for any questions, or Mr. Hargrove, who is the expert, the Deputy Director of Public Works, is because as the proposals came in, 2 proposals, we had sent it out to 3, only 2 bid. One was a little well below the other, and we believed that there was some misunderstanding with respect to what the scope really was. So we started to negotiate with the different providers, and at this point we believe that the recommendation that you have in your staff report with West Coast Arborists, who actually outranked by way of the scoring in the RFP process, is the contractor that better fits what our needs are and is consistent with what our costs are, that we would recommend that to you outside of the normal bidding process. So with that, I would defer you to Mr. Glani and Mr. Hargrove with any specific questions that you may have.
Okay, are there any questions?
Yeah, we got some questions. Okay, so Mr. Ochoa said there was that the RFP or the proposal was only sent to 3 entities. Why 3, not 13 or 30?
I believe 3 are the ones that responded to our request for the pre-bid conference, and 2 actually only submitted the proposals themselves.
Yeah, that's accurate, Mr. Ochoa and Mr. Sinanian. The reason is for the very limited participation is because of the scope and size of the project. Not many landscaping contractors have the resources to perform the required services.
Okay. Of the criteria that was used, apparently, only the proposal price seems to be the objective one. Or, I mean, people can argue about that, but at least that's numbers. So it's solid numbers, and I think Mr. Ochoa said that one came only slightly above the other or below the other. I don't see the numbers in the report. Can I have them?
Mr. Sinanian, actually, Mr. Ochoa said that the Mariposa landscaping came well below.
Well below.
Yes,
okay. Below West Coast Arborist. And These were not hard bid numbers. The only way we could collect some reasonable objective assessment for our estimation on how much it's going to cost was per unit. So depending on the size, the diameter of the trees, the type of trees, what kind of pruning need to be done, we only requested unit costs from the contractors. So they provided hourly or per unit cost, and then we estimated how much the total would be for our budgeting purposes. In most cases, for tree pruning and trimming, Mariposa landscaping numbers were lower than West Coast Arborist. However, for GPS inventory, removal, and planting, West Coast Arborist numbers were lower than Mariposa's. So it's a combination of the two that made the evaluation panel to decide to award it to West Coast Arborist. But in our opinion, we believe that the numbers that Mariposa Landscaping provided appear to be inconsistent with the recent significant increase in wages as established by the California Department of Industrial Relations, and that could pose some legal and reporting issues in the future. So that had a very strong factor in determining the awarding.
Okay. So one's prices were, they corresponded to prevailing wages, and the other one just wasn't realistic when you...
Yeah, when you add up how many, for example, tree trimmers you need for certain work, and you multiply it by the pair, it just didn't.
And did you try addressing that, or just that's not on you?
We questioned the proposer, and they did say that they take it into account, but it just doesn't make sense with the numbers that we have seen from the Department of Industrial Relations.
Okay. And I'm assuming the second criteria, which is qualifications, business history, and past performance, that's the factor in which all of that went into. Okay.
You're absolutely correct. West Coast Arborist proposal in that regard was way superior to Mariposa Landscaping.
Okay. All right. That's all the questions I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Golanian.
Yeah, my question is, I did the numbers, it's like $23 a tree. Basically, we have 47,000 trees in the parkways. Who does the inspection as to determine which tree needs maintenance? Do they do the inspections, or we randomly inspect it and send them out and say these trees are
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, City Council, Council Member Garpetian, our department under the management of Mr. Hargrove handles all of that, and work orders are given to the contractor to perform the work. So we do the investigation, we do the analysis, and we provide the work orders.
So we pay them a flat fee, and they do whatever is in their contract, basically according.
We give them a per line item work order, and then based on the negotiated, approved unit cost, they bill us.
Got it. So this number can go up or down?
It could go down. We are requesting a not to exceed amount for 5 years.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
There are no other questions?
I'll move the item.
At 8D1 and 2. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Council members Devine?
Yes.
Friedman?
Yes.
Garpetian?
Yes.
Sinanian?
Yes.
Mayor Najarian.
Yes. Next item.
E is Director of Library Arts and Culture regarding award of contract for moving library materials during the Central Library renovation. E1 is a resolution dispensing with competitive bidding and awarding a contract to National Library Relocations, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $93,539, and authorizing the purchasing manager to issue a purchase order service authorization to provide planning and moving services of library materials at Central Library.
Okay, Mr. Ochoa?
Yes, sir. Here we have a request to dispense with competitive bidding, albeit for a different set of reasons. What you have here is with the commencement of the Central Library renovation project, the need to box and store and ultimately provide the RFID, I always forget what that acronym is, Cindy, the
radio frequency identification tag, about a third of our collection in the central library. That work is rather specialized. It isn't just beacons coming in, throwing boxes of books into the corner, but actually people that understand the library business, and as a result, there are only a handful of folks that do this, particularly a handful of folks that do this in this part of the country. We use the folks at National Library Relocations, Inc. on the Brand Library project. They did a great job. Their price was reasonable and had a great experience with staff. And so considering all of those factors, we are asking that we dispense with competitive bid, do this agreement with the NLR Incorporated, and I'm sure Cindy can answer any questions that you might have.
You want me to go through the formality? So why only this one? And I think Mr. Ochoa kind of answered the question, but why is there only one entity that does? I know that it's admittedly pretty narrow, niche kind of moving service that they provide, but why only that one entity?
There are other moving companies that move library materials, but this is the only one that only moves library materials. And so they have the expertise that we need more than any other company.
Okay. All right, now I have to ask a follow-up. That opened
Okay.
up. So there are others that do move library items. It's just not that they do that exclusively.
Right.
So does that mean that they could have done that job competently and for a cheaper amount? I mean, we explored different options for Brand, and the prices seemed to be about the same. I mean, that was several years ago. The other reason that we need to do this expeditiously is because we expected to move the materials 10 months out, and when the contractors came in 2 weeks ago, they said, we need to move them next week. Oh. So going through the bid process would slow this down. That's the other. And because we have this past history with them, we feel like they're the leanest. They really work lean to get it done. That's it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Someone like to move item 8E1?
I'll move the item.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Council members Devine?
Yes.
Friedman?
Yes.
Garpetian?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Freeze. Sorry. I do see that there is a card. Retract those votes. Harvey Pearson. Sorry, Mr. Clerk. 3 minutes.
Mr. Mayor, City Council members, this is about the Central Library renovation. It might really be under oral communications because it's about the renovation in general, not about the movement of materials and so on.
We can move you to oral communications if you'd like. This is about the moving of the books.
It's fine if you just as soon hear it now, because I have another one on oral communications.
Okay. If you won't speak to the moving of the books and the contract, then we'll.
No, that's not what.
Yeah, it would be out of.
Fine.
It would not be germane to the topic.
All right.
Okay. So let's resume roll call. Let's restart roll call.
Council members Devine?
Yes.
Friedman?
Yes.
Garpetian?
Yes.
Sinanian? Yes. Mayor Najarian?
Yes. Next item.
Next item is a hearing. 9A is Director of Public Works regarding approval of final engineer's report and ordering the levy and collection of annual assessment for the North San Fernando Road Corridor Landscape Maintenance District for fiscal year 2015-16. A1 is a resolution approving the engineer's annual levy report for the City of Glendale's North San Fernando Road Corridor Landscape Maintenance District for fiscal year 2015-16. 2 is a resolution ordering the levy and collection of the City of Glendale's North San Fernando Road Corridor Landscape Maintenance District for fiscal year 2015-16. 3 is a resolution for appropriation.
Okay, this is a public hearing, and I will open the public hearing. And I will go to Mr. Ochoa.
Yes, sir. This is the annual hearing that we have for the San Fernando Road Corridor Landscaping Assessment District. You set this hearing several weeks ago. As you know, there are 5 different zones in the overall landscape corridor. We provide landscape services. There's a cap as to how much that cost can increase. All of the property owners that pay the assessment were notified per law. So what we are asking you at this point, at the conclusion of your hearing, if you have no protests and concur with the engineer's report staff recommendation, is to order the levy and order the collection.
Okay. I don't have any cards.
Really?
No, I don't.
I'll move the item.
Okay, so it's 9A, 1, 2, and 3. I'll close the public hearing. And we have a motion moving items 9A, 1, 2, and 3. Roll call, please. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Council members Devine,
Yes.
Friedman,
Yes.
Garpetian,
Yes.
Sinanian,
Yes.
Mayor Najarian.
Yes. Let's move on to the next item.
Next item is oral communications, and this is a 5-minute portion. Discussion is limited time, is not part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Council may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. City manager may refer the matter to the appropriate department for an investigation and report.
Okay, the first speaker is Tom Paikunka. He's left. Second speaker is Aram A. Regarding a ticket. He's left too. Elizabeth Amirkhanian.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of all titles and honorable titles. Thank you for allowing me to come here personally and talking to you and conveying my concern that I have. And as you all know, health and safety are the utmost importance in life. Okay? All of you, your all main concern is to promote safety for all citizens of Glendale. Okay? My concern is safety issue. I would like the curb above our house painted red on Delisle Street. Cars travel downhill very fast on this very steep and narrow street. This street curves directly to our house, downhill. If any of these cars that are driven with the speed hit the parked cars that are on our side of the street, or jump the curb, they can end up in our backyard or our house, causing a life-threatening hazard with threatening results in every way. This concerns me, my family, but also our neighbors, okay? As I have collected a petition of their signatures. I have them here. I also have pictures to show that the cars are parked 24/7 on our side of the street, pretty much all the time. Are parked 24/7. If a speeding car hits these parked cars, they can easily slide down the steep slope that we have, a 60-degree downhill slope in our backyard from the sidewalk on Delisle, can fall down and end up in our house. And this can cause a life-threatening hazard and even death to my family, and also burn the house and cause damages to the neighboring houses and people. As everybody should know, that safety takes precedence over convenience of parking cars. So a lot of times people would say that no accident has ever happened in that area, not even one. But only one would be, for sure, a guarantee, a deadly situation. And I don't want that from occurring to my family and to the neighbors, human beings. And this is really a safety issue, which I do not want one-time accident to happen. And please, I do need your help I'm asking. I personally came here. I waited all this time, and I've done so many things to convey my concern to all of you. And I know all of you are here in your title seats because utmost importance to you is safety in life for the citizens of Glendale and for all mankind, I know. So that's my concern. I would like to have a red pavement curb on the Lyle Street on our side with the parking on the street towards our house, if you can, please. That would be a safety issue and it would provide safety for my family and for the neighboring houses. And I do have the petitions of all the signatures here. I have been doing hard work with this, and there's like 95% signatures of all the neighbors, okay? And they even gave me their phone numbers. It's here, I can give it to you, okay? And I have pictures of here, conveying 24/7 hours. I've started collecting these since January of 2005. Okay, and you can see that our parked cars, the street is very narrow on both sides, and even the neighbors that I've collected the signatures have also conveyed their concern to me that they are scared to drive on Delisle Street because it is such a narrow street, and the parked cars on our side gives them a difficulty and a very hazardous situation. So they go 2 to 5 miles per hour downhill. But these are the citizens. There are some guests, there are some teenagers that go up the hill to the neighbors' houses and they speed down.
Thank you.
They really do. And I do have a curb of wheel paint on the street, and I do have pictures.
And so I'm going to refer you to the police department, our liaison, our communications director, but it would seem to me if we're worried about a car, let's say, going out of control and dropping off over the edge into your home, would you not be safer with a parked car there?
They would hit the parked cars, and the parked cars and the driven car would slide down together. Guarantee. It's a pictures which show you proof.
And the people that are speeding,
the naked eye can see it.
Right. And I know Delisle Court. It's off of Fern. It's like a circle. I mean, so if 95% of the people,
in the corner, yes,
95% of the people signed, I bet the speeders are one of those, homes or several of those homes there.
Not really.
They're visitors or they're
visitors and teenagers and their friends. They come.
Okay. So we have. I'm going to refer you to. It might be our public works director as well.
I have pictures, petitions.
Who's in charge of the parking and the criteria, the warrants for red curbs. So between the two of these gentlemen, I think they can explain the process to you, and whether your reasoning on protecting your homes would be best served by having an open, wide street or by having cars remain to be parked. I'm not the expert on that, but between these gentlemen. I do know that one of the things we do to slow vehicles down is narrow the roadway. That is an element of traffic calming. So a driver that sees a more narrow roadway drives slower than one that sees a wider roadway. But I'm not the expert.
Reasonable people. But a lot of teenagers, they do. As a matter of fact, I have skid marks.
So Mr. Galanyan or Sergeant Lorenz, if you would assist Ms. Amirkhanyan in working through this process, it might be helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Please help us.
Next speaker is Mike Mohill. Mike will be followed by Harvey Pearson.
Thank you.
Bring it up. No, we'll bring it. Video or photos?
I mean the photos, please. Good evening, Mayor, Nigerian Council members. My name is Mike Mohill. Declining cities. Recently, Glendale City Council announced the acceptance of a $155,000 grant from Los Angeles County for park maintenance. For many years, grants from federal, state, and county governments have been financing 90% of our city parks. Not now, Artie, please. Today, barely 10% of the general fund is being used for park maintenance. About 10 years ago, approximately 50% of our sales tax went for infrastructure, like roads. About 3 years ago, 16%. Today, council counts on grant funding only. Grant funding is food stamps for failed cities. Our city manager, council members like to blame Washington, D.C., Sacramento, and the county for their financial woes of our jewel city. However, it is they, ladies and gentlemen, who set the salary and the pension benefits of our city workforce. 18 years ago, about 30% of the general fund paid for our fire and police salaries and pension benefits. Today, 80% is required and still growing. The influential San Bernardino fire and police unions contributed generously to local elections. In 2008, San Bernardino City Council approved changing their retirement benefit factor for fire and police personnel. After 30 years of service, retirement age was reduced from 55 to the ripe old age of 50. And they received a whopping 9% rather than 75% of their last year's salary as a lifetime pension. A staggering 72% of their general fund went for salaries and pensions for police and fire departments. The once very proud middle-class city of San Bernardino, population about 214,000, after diverting city resources to pay for salaries and pensions, filed for bankruptcy protection in 2012. Irresponsible council management allowed their parks, roads, and other city services to deteriorate, as is occurring in the once very strong middle-class city of Glendale today. Because of our strong economic base in 2000, Glendale City Council approved the same generous salary and pension plan that sunk and eventually bankrupted the city of San Bernardino in 2008. Council members, do you think our fate will be any different than the city of San Bernardino? P.S. Glendale currently has $1.4 billion in unfunded pension liabilities plus $1.6 billion in bond debt for our children to pay. Are we going the way of Greece? P.S. City of San Bernardino has CalPERS, city employees, as does City of Glendale, that belong to CalPERS, have filed for bankruptcy protection. PPPS. The corrupt and financially irresponsible CalPERS reported today in the Los Angeles Times that they did not meet their 7.5% return on their projected rosy investments. CalPERS only made 2.4%, a 5.1% real loss. Glendale taxpayers, again, will have to pick up the difference, council members. In 2011 and 12, Glendale taxpayers had to cough up an additional $58 million that could have gone to parks and libraries and schools, etc., for their rosy failed projections. Mayor Nigerian, what is our 5.1% additional monies out of the general fund? How many millions of additional monies will be required to pay off CalPERS? Artie, will you now show my pictures? This is the Heritage Park, and you will see a nice, dirty park. No money to keep it clean. I just took these pictures the other day, and as you can see, this park, here's a planter with no plants. Wow. Look what an entrance. Does that look inviting to the people? But we have the best employees that money can buy. 80% of the general fund is required to pay the salaries and the pensions of our police and fire unions. Ladies and gentlemen, please make sure you salute our fire and police personnel because they deserve it. Thank you.
Harvey Pearson, followed by Ara Ghanbarian.
Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, I'm Harvey Pearson, technically Los Feliz resident, but a Glendale denizen for like 3 decades, and especially of the Glendale Central Library. And so last September, I emailed to your then secretary, and maybe she still is, Ms. M. Movsesian, a copy of this email that she confirmed to me that had been delivered to each one of you, save Mr. Carpedian. Excuse me.
Yes, close enough. That's good.
But including Councilwoman Devine, evidently. However, I never heard a word back from anybody about the validity of what I had claimed. What I had done was took the Gruen, I pronounced the architectural firm Gruen, and their online analysis, and checked it out myself, walked all around there and everything. And for example, they had written, patrons need to walk around building to find entrance, and they had little arrows. Yeah, that's true. If you parked in the garage parking lot, then you had to walk around to get to the main entrance where it is now. But if you parked in the south side parking lot, or if you parked in the east side parking lot, that wasn't the case. And they kind of completely overlooked that. And then another one was that Gruen wrote, view from Harvard Street, overgrown landscape obscures architectural features. Translation, they want to cut down some trees. And they want people to be able to see this beautiful architecture that they're making. Like trees aren't great, you know, like what's a tree, you know, they got to see my architecture. So anyway, I'll leave this. This is a copy of what I sent in September of 2014, and I'll give that over to you. Want to look at it? I don't know if you remember ever getting it in September of 2014 or not. The other comment I could make quickly would be on the development situation. I frequently will eat at cheap old place, a Burger King in North Central Avenue in South Glendale, or at the McDonald's, which is a couple of streets down. And so the Burger King now, they finally, if you sat on the north side seating, you had a beautiful view of the hills, of the mountains. Now, with this latest huge multi-story building going up, they're all over the places, you know, heard about a lot about that. The view of the mountains is totally gone. And there was like a slice that it looked like if you sat at one table, you could still see the mountains. Today, I just noticed, nope, they put some wood up there, and that's going to be blocked off too. It's kind of sad, you know. There goes some of the nicest amenities in the area. That's it, unless you have any comments or questions.
Thank you.
I hope you look at it anyway this time.
Okay. Ara Ghanbarian.
Mayor Najarian, members of the City Council, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I shall be pretty quick. I've got some pictures to share. My name is Ara Ghanbarian. I represent Tri-City Transportation. We have been doing business in Glendale for a little over 10 years. You may know us. We operate over 40 cabs. The reason I'm here today is to raise some concern about bandit cabs. Bandit cabs are simply illegal cabs, and the term bandit may sound a little bit comical, but this is actually a very serious problem. I wish the police chief was still here. That'd be nice. He'd kind of hear our comments. But right now, as we speak, there are actually very many bandit cabs operating. How it basically works is people go and buy Crown Vics or old vans from auctions or from people selling them privately. They take them and do a quick, cheap paint job, and they actually start operating as though they're cabs working here in Glendale. How they take it a step further from there is they actually purchase an 800 number. They'll do some short-term, quick online advertising and get some business, and then they'll actually show up in very popular areas like Americana, the railroads, you name it. So why we're very concerned about this is not only because it's poor business practice, they're basically stealing business from us and other legal cab companies, but none of them are doing any of the things that we're expected to do, such as background checks. Our background checks are conducted by the Department of Justice. They're not doing anything like that. The City of Glendale has a comprehensive inspection and permitting program. They're not involved in that process either. All of our drivers are fingerprinted via LiScan. Nothing of the sort for any of these bandit cabs. On top of that, our drivers are fully insured, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and they are submitted to both annual and randomized drug testing. We don't know what any of these bandit cab operators are doing or how they're really operating. And it's really a major safety concern for our city, especially if you take into account the special needs or the seniors of our city who are taking this type of transportation. There is no oversight as to what's happening with them or what danger they might be facing. Another big concern is that often they don't have a meter, or if they do, they're not subject to what the city does as testing for weights and measures. And then, of course, there's other safety issues that we haven't even begun to scratch the surface of, but our people have actually seen them operating. Of course, they haven't taken any action themselves, but that's why we're here talking to the city, hoping that we can work together to do whatever it takes to make sure that these people are no longer operating in the city, and if they do try to, that they do so according to the laws and restrictions that we all face as transportation companies. So, any questions, any concerns, anything I can shed some light on?
Have you brought this problem to the city before?
I believe it may have been shared with the city in the past, but it's something that we've noticed has really cropped up more recently and has become more of an issue. I have just recently joined Tri-City, so this is something that I've really taken on as a project of my own.
Well, I'd like to have maybe Mr. Loren sit down with you, and I agree it sounds very concerning if people are driving around without insurance or without background checks and impersonating cabs. So
without seals as well. So
yeah, without seals. So I'd like you to sit down. He's nodding his head. So
definitely.
I mean, Uber is bad enough. I know it's a constraint on the industry, but a consumer who thinks he or she is getting into a regulated cab that has the extra element of safety and safeguards for the driver, insurance, vehicle inspection, just to get duped by a look-alike cab. So it's not even an out-of-city registered cab that's picking up. This is someone who's completely impersonating a taxi cab.
Just a complete bogus vehicle with some stickers on it and some phone numbers. And
I'm sure our police department, and does the city clerk's office still do the inspections on that?
All of those functions were transferred over to traffic.
To traffic, okay. So, Mr. Galanian, again, when you fix that red curb issue on Delisle, actually, before you do that, let's deal with this, because it's just unfair. I mean, we need to.
So these are cars that look like taxi cabs, and they just operate. They buy these cars from auctions, and
often they'll look for vehicles that we're no longer using, and either they've gone to auction or they're up for private sale. They'll actually purchase the vehicle, paint it up, and then start actually acting as though they're cabs.
It's quite a scam.
That's not even a gypsy hat.
That's exactly what it is. It's a scam, and more than anything, it's unsafe for our citizens.
Absolutely.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't have any other cards unless Mr. Aram A. or the other gentleman returned. I don't think so. Ms. Friedman?
Before we adjourn, we lost a very treasured member of the community in the last couple of weeks, Sheila Murray, who is known and beloved by many. And we don't have a proper, I don't have a proper obituary for her, but I would like to mention it. And next week I would like to adjourn in her honor, but I would love staff to prepare something so that we can read that and talk more fully about her contributions to the city and her life.
Okay, I'm sure staff will have that ready for next week. Are there no other comments? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
We are adjourned.